Hello, Scott here, and welcome to another Pull from the Shelf. This is part 2 of the one where I'm focusing on zines, and more zines. What is a Pull from the Shelf, in case you haven't seen the previous episode? Well, what it is where I will pull some games from my collection, my library, my shelf, so to speak, and present it here, where I will give it the proper attention it deserves, due to the fact that some of these games that I have purchased, and guilty of, as many others are, of once receiving them, give them a quick little glance, and up onto the shelf they go, awaiting people or someone of more discriminating tastes. So in light of this being Zine Month, I decided to focus on some of the zines that I have picked up over the years that have fallen victim to that, of me kind of taking a look at it, saying these are awesome, and putting them on the shelf and never looking at them again. So moving on, let's go ahead and just dive right into this. Hopefully I'm not going to drone on as much as I did last time, but no freaking promises there, as I like to talk. So, all right. So first pull from the shuffle that I did yesterday, or continue on with the shuffle that I did the other day, is going to be this one. Let's see if I can get it front and center here. And glancing over there to my left to see it is, and everything looks good. So what is this particular zine? Now, a little word of warning with this one, very much like the one from the other episode, focusing on Josh Burnett's Them's Monsters. A little bit biased because I consider Josh to be a good friend, and I absolutely adore his work. And as far as I'm concerned, he really can do no wrong. So this particular one falls into the same category for different reasons. The Phylactery comes from PX Games, and PX Games is headed by a gentleman who goes by the name of Levi Combs. And much like Josh, I absolutely adore Levi. I don't know the man personally. Our exchange has been purely on social media like Twitter and Facebook and whatnot. Hope to someday meet the gentleman in person, or on a stream, on a podcast, whatever the case may be. But he is an absolute delight. He really brings it with the stuff that he presents in regards to the hobby. He provides a lot of wonderful jokes and insights in his aspects of social media, and just generally comes off as just a nice guy. I mean, you would think that there would be an abundance of that in this hobby, and there is, mind you. But he kind of counterbalances some of the other sides that we unfortunately have to deal with, where he seems to be constantly positive, providing nothing more than positive aspects and details, and freaking hilarious. So I mean, what's not to like? So, and that kind of has shown through in the work that he has. I have many of the other PX games. Planet X games, I should say, in my collection. Some I have played and given attention to, and others, kind of guilty of just everything else. Like the Phylactery, looked at it, beautiful, love the artwork. Hey, this is great. On the shelf, it went. So, do want to spotlight this. I may have kind of cheated a little bit and grabbed it, but definitely want to give a lot of love to Planet X games here. So, let's dive in. The Phylactery. So, and I know, same scenario. I don't recall if I had backed this outright or if I'd purchased it after the fact, but I tend to, when I'm able, back most things that Planet X Games comes out with. So there's a good chance that this was one of them. So what is it? It's published by Planet X Games. Words by Levi Combs, cover by Ed Bickford. Interior art by Ed Bickford, Lawrence Hernandez, Adrian Landeros, and Jay Shields. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Cartography, Carl Stengenberg. Apologies there again. Layout, Tracy Fossey Steele. 8G DWS by Casey Christopherson. And Bitchin' Space Camaro by Lawrence Hernandez. So, welcome to the Phylactery. A Kickstarted zine funded solely by the OSR community. This little Judy is jam-packed with all sorts of ideas, plot hooks, and interesting crunchy bits that you can use to jumpstart your heroic fantasy RPGs. We've tried to give it the heart and feel of the old school RPGs we grew up with, playing ourselves back in the day, but with our own grindhouse aesthetic. Another point of order there. Levi does constantly tweet and post on grindhouse movies. It's safe to assume he's a gigantic fan of it, and a lot of the things that he posts I have never heard of. And so if you're looking for some insight or for some inspiration or just general recommendations on some really awesome old school grindhouse type movies, follow him. You will not be disappointed. Anyways, so we go in assuming you already have the core books to play your favorite games, and instead jump right into as much OSR inspired material as we could pack in here. Within these pages, you'll find new adventures, quirky NPCs, wondrous magical items, all new monsters, failed locations, relics beyond the mists of time, and all sorts of resources for your tabletop games. I am deeply indebted to many good folks over the years, without whom many of these ideas never would have seen the light of day. This scene is dedicated to them, with heartfelt gratitude for all those hours sitting around the table tossing dice and pursuing grand adventures. To those brave and foolhardy adventurers, my true dedication goes. So first off, is this... No index. But I'm not going to fault it. It's a zine. It's a nice thing to have. It's expected in books, for sure, but not going to generally, me personally, if I was doing an actual review, I wouldn't flag it in this particular instance. And just kind of a real quick sidebar here. What I'm doing here is just trying to shine a little bit of light on some of these things. And granted, it may come off as a review. I have not given any of these any sort of proper attention. So most of these I regard as first impressions. To do a proper review, I do feel that someone, at the very least, needs to spend some time and really read it from front to cover. So take a lot of my opinions here, which is what they are, as a grain of salt, because this is just first impressions, and first impressions are not always right. So carrying on, the Chaos Throne. Chaos is the law of nature. Order is the dream of men. A quote by Henry Adams. So we have an adventure here. So put into the world to sow the seeds of randomness, chance, and chaos amongst those mighty enough to find it. The Chaos Throne is a legend amongst veteran adventurers and explorers who haunt the far reaches of the world. Next, we have the gibbering thing in the cellar and other slobbering, gelatinous horrors. Someone's in my fruit cellar, someone with a fresh soul. Henrietta from Evil Dead 2. So many people will probably know that quote. Next up, we have the Furious Faithful, priests and holy men of renown. Just kind of pick one here. We have Thetis, the Lord of Secrets, a formidable priest of chaos, famed throughout the faith for bringing down a temple of the God of Justice by corruption from the inside. Thetis, if I'm doing that properly, was known to have a web of spies, informants, and blackmailed lackeys spread across the southern lands. He is said to have blackmailed government officials, famed adventurers, nobles, and even a king. He met his end at the hands of assassins serving an encroaching temple of the God of Thieves. And then likewise, we have the Sliver of Secrets, a shard of the shin bone of the Thetis serves as a minor relic of the church. When a believer of the faith carries it on their person, they may lie with impunity, gaining a +2 bonus to any check made to falsify the truth. Any divination type of 4th level or lower will fail to reveal the lie for what it is. So, generally speaking, this book is a fanzine, as mentioned, to utilize within the OSR. So it's making it's somewhat neutral in its presentation, where you can drop this in most anything if you like. But the general assumption is you're going to be using an old school D20 D&D based system. So a lot of these are going to come off as that, but that doesn't mean that you can't take anything from here, since it's somewhat generic in its aspect, and put it in any game, whether it be an OSR game, 5e, whatever the case may be. So continue on, we have other people of note: Helmdor the Just, Orden Oakhart, Gorag the Horned Ranger. Then we continue on with magic weapons and sorceress blades. We have such as the Dragon's Breath Bow, Conjure Doom, the Doom Giver, and Eleuthriel's Starbow, Magic Gigas, Sorceress Jim Jams, and whatnot. Be wary of this devil blade, Moonglum. It kills the foe, but savors the blood of friends and kinfolk most. Michael Moorcock, Elric, the Stealer of Souls. Wonderful quote there. So, and the presentation here, I want to say, kind of gives a good idea of Levi's sense of humor. This is all meant to be taken in good fun and presented as such because we're playing a game. This is as serious as the game can be in certain regards. We still need to remember at the end of the day we're there to play and have fun, and certain things should reflect that to remind us that at the end of the day we're still playing games. We're not here. We shouldn't be taking everything so darn seriously. So continuing on, they look good, but 1d10 fiendish potions that you wish you hadn't drank. All right, I'm going to go ahead and read one of these. Just going to pick one. Number 5. Watery and diluted, where they taste like standing rainwater. Acts as a potion of animal control that is 100% effective, but forever after normal animals will have enmity towards you. I happen to know what standing rainwater tastes like, unfortunately. Forbidden demon cults from the outer void. We have Yug. We have Ixtar Shex, the one who dwells beneath the starless void. We have Thule, the racked one. Continuing on, forbidden spellbooks and fell prayers of the ancients. An example, 7 Veils, 7 Voids, the Testament of Namul, the 3 Faces of Yurgath. I'm going to go ahead and take that as an example. Pinned by the hand of the hag sorceress, Beltrugald, for her 7 horrible daughters, the terrible old tome is a bleak look into the darker mysteries of demon summoning and consorting with devils. In addition to containing recipes for such brews as potions of gaseous form and potions of flying, it also contains the following spells. One to a page. Cacodemon, contact outer plane, dispel magic, hold monster, hold person, mind blank, ravenous wound, repulsion, and spirit rack. The cover on the book is made from the overlapping scales of some unknown serpentine beast and bears a single eye, yellow and devoid of pupil, which stares about wickedly when left unattended. Continuing on, we have, looks like some NPCs here, here's a monster of note, the Ravenous Wound, Black Bess, Scourge of the High Seas. Black Bess is a human female, 7th level neutral fighter, carrying on, so on and so forth. We have next to her, we have Once Upon a Time in the Grim Hinterlands. 3 antagonists to set your players on the road to adventure. 1 Orlok the Black Friar, Morgun Blackfeather, and Velikas the Howling Mage. Carrying on, next we have 1d10 Tough Sons of Bitches. This is my channel. I can curse if I want. Roadhouse hoodlums, bored adventurers, and mean old bastards you might meet in a tavern. That's the problem with drinking, I thought, as I poured myself a drink. Charles Bukowski quote. Love me some Charles Bukowski. So, and what are some of these sons of bitches? Nagabob, Magua, Grimgare, Old Magi, Selgath, Feisty Nermo, and Agna Winter's Blood. Corpse Garden of the Myconid King. Looks like we're carrying on with another short adventure here. Spotlighting things such as Grotto of the Mushroom Men and Corpse Garden of Yavmaya. Wonderful little map here. Carrying on, we have another short adventure, Utos, the Isle of the Shattered Moon. The headwaters of Shit Creek are a cruel and treacherous expanse by Roger Zelazny. Grindhouse Hexcrawl number 1. So this is literally chock full of wonderful short little adventures here that you can just, plop into a hex crawl that you're doing, squeeze into any sort of adventure, and, propagate it with some of the monsters or some of the NPCs in here. So, Death Turtle. I mean, come on, the Nexus Lurker. Thunder Chicken. even if you're not going to use it as a monster, the name itself is something that you can use in pretty much most anything, from naming your own character to naming an NPC to, even naming a part of your world. I would love to go to Thunder Chicken Canyon and see what exists in there. And then finally, near the end, we have a save versus disbelief. Looks like a little sketch and some information. The great adventurers and explorer Flynn Farwanderer was so unkempt that he was once mistaken for a tramp and arrested when returning to the king's court. So rumors. Conjure Doom. The mighty sword was forged to slay the witch king Varacus, but then disappeared. And then we had the Doomsayers of Krakthul are rumored to pray to the gigantic crackling sphere of entropy that destroys anything it touches. So some wonderful little inspiring rumors there. And then in the back here, we have Phylactery, an advert for Phylactery number 2, which I own. In fact, I have all of the Phylacteries, and my confession now being that I haven't looked at the first one. You can kind of guess that I may not have given some love and attention to the others. So now that I'm caught on tape here, I am going to look at those others. You have my promise, Levi, and give those some additional love and attention. So, but there we are. Phylactery. I mean, to me personally, this is, a system, outside of the basic system, whether it's OSR, Dungeons and Dragons, or whatever. The Phylactery is on point for what my general expectations are when it comes to like a zine. Just chock full of useful information, an easy to read layout, evocative, wonderful imagery and artwork in it, both inside and out. And just, not everything is you're not having to use every bit and part of it, but it's there for the day that you find some inspiration and it folds or melds well into whatever game you're playing. And it's just, and easily transportable, like all zines should be. But yeah, this is, to me, something that I would hold a lot of zines up to in regards to when they arrive and how their presentation is and what they provide. Now, mind you, not exact. I don't want a carbon copy, and everyone has their own special touches and flares to the zines that they do. I wouldn't want it to be just a plain carbon copy of the Phylactery every time. But generally speaking, this is, one of my favorites as far as what it provides, what it does, and how it's presented. So, and like I've said, little sidebar there. I am biased. As mentioned, I adore Planet X games. Levi is a fantastic guy. So, take this as a grain of, take this with a grain of salt. This is, one part critique and one part fanboy gushing all over the place. So, Phylactery. Get it, pick it up. I think you can get it. I know you can definitely get most Planet X materials at Exalted Funeral. I think some of his items are available on Goodman Games. I could be wrong there, but also just do a search for Planet X games and you'll have no problem finding them. So Phylactery. Moving on. See if I can cut this down a little bit. Okay, so what do we have here? Oh, okay, fantastic. And in the center here, so Skull and Crossbones, number 1, a zine of high sea adventure, and compatible with Dungeon Crawl Classics RPG. Now, this is one that I definitely, that I have gone through because I've used some aspects of this when I had ran a nautical themed adventure utilizing Dungeon Crawl Classics and things within here for, I believe, one of the online Grogmeat games that I ran. Made an adventure for it, had a wonderful time. But yeah, but I obviously it's been a long time since I've looked at it. It's on screen. I'm not going to edit this, so I'm going to go through it again because my memory sucks. So it's going to be like I've looked at it for the first time anyways. So, Skull and Crossbone Classics, a zine of high adventure. Now, this was, if I'm not mistaken, This was presented and written by Bob Brinkman. For those who, run in the DCC circles, know that name very well. And more than likely may have a copy of this already, either in PDF form or the form itself. Bob had presented the idea and sold this through Goodman Games, I believe. This was definitely not a Zine Quest thing. But with that, unfortunately, once it was announced and produced, that's when COVID hit and lockdown. And therefore, all things considered and how it's affected everybody's lives, unfortunately, this is the only one that he's gotten to. But I mean, Bob Brinkman and likewise his wife Jen Brinkman are extremely busy people not just within the hobby, but like all of us with personal lives and things. And as much as I would love to see a number 2 of this come out ASAP, not going to hold anyone up to it because reasons, and that should be good enough for me as a fan, and obviously good enough for anyone else. No one needs to provide anything more than I'm busy. I can't get to it right now. But that's not going to take away from what's here within the cover of this book. So, published by Sanctum Media, written by Bob Brinkman, line editor Jen Brinkman, cover art, the front, Jonah Skull by Bob Brinkman, the back, Battle of Zonchio, Anonymous. Excuse me. So let's see here. Oh, am I getting there? Yeah. God, I just need a little tiny monitor right there. So interior art, we've got a variety of things there that he's referring to. I think a lot of it was, he's referring to ones that he's either purchased or leased the art from or picked up on a variety of open sources. So contents. So we've got message in a bottle, ramblings from the captain. A bit of an editor's note there. Character basics, which is the core rules. Star signs, mechanics. The Jonah class, the Devil's Own Luck, another mechanic in the game. Sailing superstitions, inspirations for your game. Ill fortune mechanic. Sea beggars bestiary, monsters, and Appendix S, more inspiration. So, not that this is necessary here to notate what these different chapters are, but I like that. I mean, it does, even though this is a small zine and you can get through it relatively quick, you have a general idea what each one of these chapters are focused upon. Very helpful. Okay. So, let's see here. Message in a bottle. This is going to be a long one, but I feel that, I'm just going to go ahead and get through what I can on here to give you a general idea of what this is. So, ahoy there, and welcome to the first issue of Skull and Crossbones Classics. As an entertainer, I've spent the past 30 years portraying pirates on stage. As a swordsman, a shanty singer, hero, and villain, I've walked the walk and talked the talk, and not just the exaggerated English West Country's farmer accent of actor John Newton. I portrayed a deckhand, a bosun, a captain, and even a commodore. All this time spent as a pirate drove me to research maritime and pirate history, and I gradually amassed a maritime research library numbering in the hundreds of volumes. Wow, would like to see that. With such a library, one gradually begins to become a source on the subject, and I first consulted on a book on piracy in 1998. As a gamer, this meant I was thrilled to swing into a number of swashbuckling systems, including, but not limited to, 7th Sea, Swashbuckler, Skull and Bones, and Blood Tide. Since I began exploring the worlds of Dungeon Crawl Classics, the idea of a pirate setting is in the back of my mind. I began to really percolate with the seafaring issue of Reverend Dak Ultimac's groundbreaking zine, Crawl. Once I started working on creating a rule set for naval combat in the DCC tradition, it was only a matter of time until you held this issue in your hands. Granted, it took just over 4 years to get to this issue, but let's not talk about that. So fair enough. If it's another 4 years before the second one comes out, so be it. It's well worth the wait. Skull and Crossbone Classics is meant to unfold into an entire DCC-compatible system inspired by the golden age of piracy. The plan for the zine is to introduce a new class every 2 to 3 issues, and to provide general pirate-orientated issues and rules mechanics in between. A great pirate system is of no use if it doesn't help to also capture the flavor and feel of such a setting, and I plan on laying groundwork that anyone can pick up and expand upon. Skull and Crossbone Classics is designed to be played in a number of ways akin to DCC Lankmar. It may be run pure in a completely historical sense for those who are looking to capture the golden age of piracy. For those wishing to introduce elements of the supernatural and monsters, there will be no shortage of dark terrors and phlogistonic, my tongue, variants available for use. Indeed, the issue introduces a few seagoing creatures fit to add a layer of supernatural menace to your game. Finally, if you so desire, you can just drop the material into your ongoing DCC game and call it good. The material is meant to be 100% compatible. For the first issue, there was no resisting releasing a SNCC class, and so we present the Jonah. Those who saw the preview in Sanctum Sectorum's 2018 Free RPG Day Companion will notice that the class has undergone a few small changes. This issue also contains material to complement the introduction of the Jonah into your campaign, dealing with luck, both beneficial and baleful. And I hope to similarly theme future issues. So let's sail, shall we? Captain Bob. All right, so it's going to go into the character basics, dealing with aspects of alignment, armor class, cultural backgrounds, firearms within the game, aspects of gender, languages, sexuality, and skills. All, giving you and this is a person who, has spent a lot of time researching this. And so, certain things like alignment, I believe he focuses upon the aspect of alignment is something that, within DCC, it deals with, law, neutrality and chaos. While chaos does not automatically imply inherent evil, it certainly conveys a level of lawlessness that is inherent to piracy. So there you go. So it doesn't necessarily, reflect evil, but I mean, you're a pirate. I mean, you are plundering, stealing, and doing other such things that, may not make you morally upstanding, but you're not necessarily evil depending on how you conduct your pirating ways, so to speak, as in my opinion, I suppose. Other things such as gender. While it is uncommon to document a woman sailing as a pirate, such women existed. While only a handful of such examples have ever been recorded, others likely sailed under the black flag without ever being identified. Of course, a character's gender should offer no advantage or additional hardship in this setting. Very good. And going on, dealing with other things such as that. So next we come to star signs. These are star signs that you would be born under, and these would give you either, banes or boons, depending on, how you roll within the game. Different star signs here: Western Zodiac, Chinese Zodiac, and Polynesian Zodiac, for examples. Then we go on to talk about the character class mentioned, the Jonah. The Jonah is a living bad luck charm. I remember I utilized this character in the adventure that I ran for Grogmeat, and I couldn't tell you how it went, but I think one of the things that came into play fairly well was like bad luck charm. So party members accompanied by Jonah suffer a +2 penalty to all luck checks. The penalty extends to checks for rolling the body. Then there's flash in the pan. When using firearms, Jonahs have a higher than average chance of suffering from a misfire, damp powder, or even a muzzle failure. Firearm fumbles occur on a natural result of 1 to 3. And if I remember correctly, there was the aspect of someone was the Jonah, but you really didn't you didn't really tell, reveal your character class, so to speak, because if you were revealed to be a Jonah, you may be tossed off the ship. But of course, that that's my base memory on it. I could be wrong. So carrying on, we're dealing with a mechanic called the Devil's Own Luck. The fortunes of a sailor ebb and flow like the tide, but pirates and cutthroats seem especially blessed. Indeed, it is said that they enjoy the devil's own luck, and fortune does seem to favor them in the highest times before abandoning them completely in the best of times. So, as a rule, a judge should not be stingy with devil's own luck. After all, it is given to help fuel the sort of deeds that make sailors into pirates. and pirates into legends. PCs may curry favor and gain the Devil's Own Luck in a number of ways. All PCs begin each session with a point of Devil's Own Luck, rolling a fumble in combat, suffering a critical hit in combat, succeeding in some particularly reckless and other ruthless action where failure meant near certain death, and so on. So how do you use this luck? Well, the Devil's Own Luck may be spent on a 1-to-1 ratio in the same way that PCs can spend their natural luck in DCC. In Dungeon Crawl Classics, there's the luck mechanic where you can spend points to change the outcome of a die roll, whether before or after you roll your dice. And this means that the PCs with a luck die or any other means of increasing the value of your luck, it may spend as more than 1 point. The Devil's Own Luck may be spent on behalf of any PC in the party, so long as they are visible to the character spending the luck. If the use of the Devil's Own Luck pushes a roll to 20 or higher, or 1 or lower, these results are treated as natural rolls, resulting in critical success or failure. So there you go. Not just natural rolls can harm you within this version, or give you a bane or boon within this version of DCC, but the Devil's Own Luck can make the outcome succeed or fail horribly. Lastly, the Devil's Own Luck may be spent to reduce the result of a luck check made for the purposes of the rolling body. The luck may only be spent by the sailor in question and on their own roll. So continuing on, we've got aspects of sailing superstitions. A couple of them would be boarding. Always board a ship right foot first. To do otherwise would bring sorrow on the voyage. Flowers. Flowers brought aboard the ship would be used to make a funeral wreath during the voyage, which I would imagine would be quite often. Jinxed ships. It is said that a ship cursed with ill fortune was jinxed. Small craft, dinghies, dories, and the like might even be burned to release the death in her. Names. Even the naming of the ship itself can bring misfortune. Christening a ship and naming it was a very serious business to some. Many believe that renaming a ship would bring disaster. It is worth noting that many pirates routinely rename vessels that they took as prizes. Ships with names ending in the letter A are considered to be unlucky vessels. Did not know that. And continuing on. So, ill fortune. It was bound to happen eventually. The last luck point was spent. Depending on the judge, that might place the PC's luck at 3 or even worse, 0. Having so little luck is certainly tantamount to having bad luck. And the following table gives plenty of fodder for what to do when someone's luck runs out. So we have aspects of ill fortune, we have aspects of blasphemy, aspects of bad luck, and curses. And then we have a bad luck table here. A wonderfully bad luck table. Examples such as number 39. Hey, peasant, ship's officer takes a dislike to... Okay, sorry, there's the name of it and then what it does. So, hey, peasant, ship's officers take a dislike to the sailor. That would suck. 46. Can't have nice things. Your sailor loses a random weapon. And 30. Nice shot. Foe gains a +1 die to critical hit rolls. Wow. Okay, Sea Beggar's Bestiary. We have aspects of the Barracuda, which looks like it's just the Barracuda itself. And then some monster called a Sea Devil. And Sea Devils are fond of dragging their victims into the water and holding them there until they drowned. And then the classic monster of the Sea Serpent. And then more mundane animals such as a tiger shark. And then finally we have Appendix S. There are so many wonderful maritime resources to draw upon for inspiration that Appendix S may become quite lengthy. Here's our list. Some recommended reading for judges wishing to capture the atmosphere of maritime life, both ashore and afloat. Just a couple here. Nelson DeMille, Plum Island. Arthur Mason, The Flying Bosun. Patrick O'Brien, of course, Master and Commander, HMS Surprise, Treasures Harbor, et al. And then finally, we have, let's see here, John Steinbeck, Cup of Gold. And then we have a note here, next issue, Maritime Deeds, Naval Combat, Ships, and More Ships. And unfortunately, that is not available, as I mentioned earlier, but definitely looking forward to it coming. So, on the back, 1650 to 720, the Golden Age of Piracy, a time where the seas were ruled by those with the most powerful fleets, but those desperate or greedy enough could live like kings. You are no hero. You're a pirate, a corsair, a buccaneer, a sea beggar, A whipcord tough, cutthroat plying the devil's trade. You seek golden glory, taking it with sword and cannon fire, awash in the blood of those who would oppose you, in the tears of those too weak to stop you. There are treasures to be worn upon the seas, and you shall have them. Okay, my computer just blinged at me for some reason. I don't know why. So, Skull and Crossbones. Yeah, I and the kind of fold over aspect, this is not, due to any reason of my own. This is how it arrived. So, I mean, it costs $5, and granted, I'm going to, be honest and say I do feel a little bit more attention could have been provided with, how the book was stapled together here and the paper cut and whatnot. But in light of the fact that, this is still in the spirit of the aspect of the zine, this is something that is usually singularly produced by someone who is not a printer and whatnot, not going to fault it entirely. But, I do feel a little bit more, professionalism could have been taken at least in, this particular aspect. But the book itself, though, mind you, it's there's the attention to detail is fantastic. Bob Brinkman is a wonderful writer, extremely creative in the realms of the hobby and other things, as mentioned by his by the editor's note here. And I can't fault what's provided inside this book, regardless of how it was put together. I recall using quite a bit of this to flavor up the adventure that I did, and really am looking forward to hopefully someday that this continues. I love pirating themed role playing games. I really adore the fact that this was presented in one of my favorite RPGs of all time, Dungeon Crawl Classics, because that that alleviates the aspect of me having to remember and learn a new system. I just have to apply the information here, and the system becomes secondary because I know it so well. So, what's there to say? This is a zine of high sea adventure, and hopefully that the aspects that were provided within, that the potential of it continuing on is definitely top of my list. And the moment that it's announced, I will definitely be there to continue on supporting this scene, and hopefully the next one will be folded over and stapled properly. So, moving on. Let's see, where are we at here? I said I was going to kind of cut this short. We're at 37 minutes, so maybe one more here. I know I did 4 last time, and I'm not going to get to all of these. I'm not going to do a part 3, but just highlighting a couple that I have. I've got way too many zines in my library to give each one a bit of individual attention. But just kind of to highlight some of these. To go check out, what they currently have, and maybe if they do have an offering for this month's Zine month, or Zemo. Yeah, it's the hashtag is ZIMO, not Zima, which is that horrible drink from the 80s and early 90s. Anyways, but yeah, and then likewise, if they're having offerings either individually or during the actual the Kickstarter zine quest, I should say, not actual, because it doesn't really matter who's presenting it. Support them. So let's see here. What do we got? Let's take a look at this, because this one I really have no idea what it is, and in fact I don't even remember getting this darn thing. So all right, so what do we have here? We have Beyond the Weird, the zine issue 1. So right off the bat, this is something that I can be honest about and say I know zero. Most everything that I've thrown down between part 1 or part 2, I have a general idea of either the creator, the people who presented it, some sort of background, or even the game mechanic that it's utilizing. But this one right off the bat, I couldn't tell you. So, but we have Beyond the Weird, the zine issue number 1. So we have a wonderful glossy cardboard cover here. Next time in Beyond the Weird, with some very good artwork. I mean, I love this. So I would assume that this is sci-fi themed or sci-fi horror themed, as we have someone in some sort of spacesuit with some sort of flashlight in an area where a mini-armed green creature looks like is either observing him or about ready to hop down on top of him. So let's take a look what's inside. Oh, what are these? Little cutout standees. Fantastic. Yes, hey, if you're doing a zine, having little extra, doohickeys and diddly bobs in here are a nice add-on. Something usable is preferred, but even if they're not fully usable, just having a little bit of extra things are helpful, and you see a lot of them in some of these zines. But yeah, so these little stand-ups, these are actually really cool. These are very, very cool. I like these. All right, setting those aside. What is the zine itself, though? All right, so we have here an introduction by one Tony O. Let's take a look here. Yep, still in the center. Exploration is as natural to human beings as breathing. For as long as there were humans, there has been an insatiable urge to discover new things, people, and places. So whenever we return home from traveling, we share stories. This is especially true of space. We haven't even scratched space exploration surface and learn new things daily. Beyond the Weird is goofy, campy, sci-fi focused on stories. Just because it's fun doesn't preclude some deeper meaning. Star Wars is a science fantasy space opera with magic space wizards and glowing swords, but beneath that is a story about individuals causing change and overthrowing an oppressive regime. Yeah. Keep that in mind when running a sci-fi game. There can be many contemporary parallels to Beyond the Weird's speculative fiction. Are you ready to get weird? I'm always ready to get weird. So, who do we have here? We have Chris Manell, one of the writers. We have Tony Obert, another one. Michael Raston, a third writer. We have Fiona Geist, a writer and editor. And then within these pages, we have the artist Dan Smith, who did the cover. Good job, Dan Smith. Excellent cover. Mustafa, I always pronounce his name incorrectly. Mustafa Bakir or Becker. Either way, correct me if I'm wrong. Big fan of Mustafa. He does quite a bit of the artwork for the Warlock ! Role-playing game, and it's got this wonderful British old school, Warhammer fantasy flair to it. It's just fantastic. I can't say enough good things about Mustafa. Cariol Hisham, Sam Mameli, D.L. Johnson, Madeline Ember, and Rachel Tu. Thank you to the 260 backers on Kickstarter who made this scene possible. Okay, so setting introduction by Chris M. Here's what you need to know. Everything you hold precious and dear is gone. Earth is no more, just a nameless star system's asteroid field. Humans proliferate across countless worlds and moons and artificial bodies, like rats. Okay? The government is mostly autonomous, industrial machine buried in bureaucracy with desperate agencies operating in tandem towards similar goals, bogging down everyone in physical paperwork, outdated filing systems, and grinding all social progress to a slow, barely perceptible crawl. Is this the future or modern day? War rages on the border against an assortment of difficult opponents, like the Telexian Order and the Psychosphere's hordes, among others. Meanwhile, the various departments of xenoscience and xenological study have contracted new conscripts through the government's official mandatory employment office for exploratory missions of discovery in the unknown reaches, exploring new worlds, cataloging life forms and plant life, and assessing mineral composition for future colonization and government exploration. In exchange, conscripted scientists, conscripted scientists' permanent debt is partially erased, and they earn credits for every novel discovery. All right, I'm in. I'm sold. All right, so here we are. We've got the core rules. So the setting introduction was penned by Chris M. We have the core rules penned by Michael R. So is this how it goes? So yeah, each person's individual contribution is noted here by their name. So kind of like a cooperative, a cooperative authorship, if that's even a word. But you get the gist of what I'm saying. And their effort is actually notated by what they've done. That's great. That's neat. I like that. So quickly here, the rule. So what is the rule? All tests and beyond the weird are resolved by rolling a d6. Easy enough. Rolling equal to or less than a tested ability or score is a success. Okay, and something good happens or something bad is averted. Rolling over the tested score is a failure, meaning something bad happens. Easy and hard tests. If a test is particularly easy or hard, 2d6s are rolled. If the test is easy, use the lowest result. If the test is hard, they use the highest result. Okay, how to play. Player characters explore an environment that the referee describes in a freeform manner. Player characters respond, describing their intended actions, and the referee may call for appropriate tests. Yep. If physical conflict occurs between the player characters and entities, the referee controls combat rules below are used. The aim of the game is to not die. Okay. Let's see here. So knowing that, let's see here. A turn. An entity may move and take an action in a turn. Yep. Attacking. When a PC attacks, they test a combat skill, reducing the target's their health by 1, along with additional effects associated with the combat skill. Okay, a little bit of a little bit of an editing miss there, but anyways, I get the point. Defending. When a player character is attacked, they test their vigor or psyche attribute, attack dependent, to avoid harm. If they fail, they test their health successfully or reduce their health by 1. Okay, and let's see. If a PC's enemy health is reduced to 0, they die. And attacking with a combat skill. Not all player characters have a combat skill. Fair enough. They attack with a basic pistol or rudimentary melee weapon using an untrained attack skill of 1. If successful, this attack reduces the target's health by 1 with no other effect. Fair enough. So continuing on. So player character role by Tony O. In Beyond the Weird, the players take on the role of conscripted scientists. Okay, they are by no means overly qualified. It's more given to destitute citizens by the government to alleviate personal debts. Okay, so yes, I get the gist of where this is rolling towards. So, which is cool. Survivors have some sort of debt. Of those debts reduced as a thank you of putting yourself in mortal danger for the greater good. All right, so desperate people deserve desperate measures and living in a desperate time. Okay. So we have the breakdown of the conscripted scientist class. Your government needs you. Consider yourself employed. So what are goals within the game by Tony O? Everyone has them. Every mission has them. Sometimes it's something simple like explore the planet for a few days and then report back. Sometimes it's difficult like exploring this abandoned colony and finding out why the contact was lost. Easy enough. So we've got a nice little, nice little table here for you to roll or pick to give your player characters some optional goals or goals themselves. And likewise, a wonderful table for an NPC generator by Fiona G. And I gotta say, I love the artwork in here. Landing table, Tony O. Everyone likes a good action-packed start to story. The ship is breaking the atmosphere. The bridge is on fire. Parts are breaking off. What do you do? So what kind of landing? I'm just going to pick a random number here. 6. Ship is slightly damaged. Return flight is likely. Players bruise 50%. Resources remain. Okay, so this is your coming in hot situation. And what are the results of that? So carrying on, we have Monster/Setting by Michael R. Codenamed The Gardener. Glossary. Flowered organs. Shimmering, preserved, and still quivering. Artistically stretched, shaped, and sometimes dyed by the gardener. And then we have some more tables here of corruptions. Yep. Okay. I'm just kind of following. Oh, I see. Okay, so this roll a d10 and it's cuts off there. Okay. I mean, once again, this is the fault of all my editing friends pointing this out. This kind of is. This layout is a bit jarring, so to speak, but once again, it just took me a moment to go, oh, okay, that's what it is. So, but I know some other people that would be like, this needs to be spaced out better, a little bit easier to read, and not quite a shock once you see it. Wow, this I absolutely love. Just some random conscripted scientists dealing with nonsense, and then having this four-eyed beast just come out of a cave, and looks like, what does he have? Just some sort of a cosmic screwdriver to help fend for himself. All right, and continuing on in regards to the gardener, and then I think I'm enjoying the artwork here more than the actual information, and that's perfectly fine. But yeah, this right here is fan-freaking-tastic. Don't fuck with space artifacts, because you never know what's going to happen by touching them and having your helmet and pretty much everything above your neck disintegrated and blown off of the top of your body. Some more wonderful artwork of, I believe this is a description of what this gardener is. Could be wrong. And then finally, we have equipment by Michael R. Such things as an oxygen suit or OX suit, a tox suit, a brain jack. What is a brain jack? Let's see. Digital shunt injected straight into the brain, allowing direct control of computers. Cool. Can make up to 3 computer tests in a round. That's awesome. Rare and valuable equipment, combat armor, power armor, mag boots, and so on. And quick start random encounter table by Tony O. So, beyond the weirdest planets are dangerous and generally unfriendly. Excuse me. Whether from natural elements or its flora and fauna. Much like Earth, there are plants and animals best avoided. For example, the Manchinell of Florida is extremely toxic and can kill you by simple contact. Is that a real thing? No. A lot of things in Florida can kill you by touching it. So I wouldn't be surprised. Now, imagine an entire planet covered in plants like that, who also have legs. Done. No problem there. Slowly lumbering about, waiting for clumsy wanderers to be in its path. Yes, fantastic. So, example table for Acid Rain Sweat Planet. Oh, God, this is sounding great. Beyond the Weird Sci-Fi Environment Generator by Michael R., Tony O., and Chris M. Roll on the table below to find out what weird, wild, and deadly locale the hapless conscript scientists are being sent to. And then we have the end here. So, next time in Beyond the Weird. So, fantastic. This falls into the same general specific category of things that I would expect to be in, what I consider to be like a, standard foundation for a zine. It's an evocative world. I can definitely immerse myself in what is here very easily, and also it excites me. It makes me want to use it after I go through it, and I think that's a good sign of any zine, because most of these are, even though this is designed to be a standalone, it's got its own game system. It's designed to be a standalone game, but it's interesting enough and has enough information to where if I wanted to, I can put it into any game that I want. And cardboard standees. I mean, hey, this is fantastic. These alone, are wonderful. So, is Beyond the Weird the zine? Is there an issue 2? I couldn't tell you. I'm definitely going to find out after this and see. And if there is, I will definitely see about picking it up sometime. But I have no problem recommending this either. Beyond the Weird the zine, issue 1. If this is still available out there in some other way, whether it be through Exalted Funeral or any other format or just on their own, pick it up. It sounds interesting enough to where you can either utilize the game mechanic itself or inject what it is, a government, hiring average citizens to go out and do the dirty business to erase some a bit of debt from their coffers. This can be used in any sci-fi, game out there as far as I'm concerned. So, Beyond the Zine. And I think that is, yep, I'm going to go ahead and cut it here because I wanted to keep this shorter. I'm coming up on just over 50 minutes for these 3. So I know that I'm kind of, prattling on and on and on. So for the others that I didn't get a chance to, I will see maybe, touching base again sometime in the near future. I absolutely enjoy so far what I've been doing with these zines. And looking to kind of maybe highlight some others and, find out that, in my library, in my collection, there's these wonderful little evocative worlds, monsters, NPC mechanics, and other things that, to be fair, and, with a bit of trepidation, admitting that I didn't even know they existed. until the moment I looked at them right here. So the ones that I covered again were Phylactery by Planet X Games. Check it out. Please support Levi and all of his endeavors. Skull and Crossbone Classics by Bob Brinkman, which is, I believe, this is still available, I think, on Goodman Games. You can find it there. Support it. I mean, this is one of those where, it's not just inspiration that makes people want to create, but it's knowing that people are enjoying what they've done, and which gives them reason to continue. So this would be one that I would say, definitely support, and that might give, Bob a little bit more onus to continue on with it, if time permits. And then finally, Beyond the Weird, the Zine issue 1. Just, wonderful artwork, fantastic. I know absolutely zero about any of the people involved, but I will find out more. Other than Fiona Geist, I know her name pops up in quite a few of these as, editors or line editors with that. But as far as the rest, fantastic job. I'm very happy to have supported this also during a previous Kickstarter or Zine Quest. So check these out. Check out other zines, please. Definitely, check out the ones that I had in the previous episode. Give these a try if you can. Even if it's just, get them in PDF form. And take a look at the offerings that are happening this month, for Zine Month or Zine Mo. And, see if you can find, some of these creators if they're presenting, and also support ones you don't know. As clearly admitted, I have no idea who these people were. But they gave a good presentation, looked good, and I am happy and pleasantly surprised. So thank you so much for, sitting through this again. If you're still awake, thank you. If you've fallen asleep, hopefully you're dreaming about creating your own zine, or dreaming about me shutting the hell up and not talking so goddamn long. Either way, you're in a happy place. I'm Scott. This has been a pull from the shelf where I focus on zines, and more scenes. You can find me on Twitter at HailOrcusTorcus. You can also check out my other offerings on this channel where it's an unboxing where I'm just unboxing various things that I'm adding to my collection, giving them a brief page through, not as long as this, and just a general idea of what they are to shine some light on it also. My goal with this and any other aspects of my channel are to bring these kind of things to your attention, whether either you know about them or not. So hopefully that I have inspired some of you to go and support some of these creators. So with that, I hope you have a wonderful day, and be sure and check out the podcast I'm on with Keith from rollingboxcards.com, and likewise check out his site. But this month's podcast, hopefully when we get around to do it sooner than later, because Keith is extremely busy, we will be talking about zines. And we will also be having a special guest. So thank you. Once again, have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye for now. Go away. I'm trying to find the button to click stop.